Hello friends, welcome to Friday Beyond Spotlights, Hong Kong's new insightful program looking into the lives of our most remarkable high achievers and getting their take on this city's past, present and future.
Our guests will give their personal perspectives for a new generation, inspiring Hong Kong for a better society.
So sit back and relax and we'll take you beyond the spotlights.
Welcome to Friday Beyond Spotlights, where we invite leading minds and game changers with incomparable experience and unique knowledge to come on our light-hearted yet informative show to help business leaders and the wider community gain insights, grasp opportunities, and see behind and beyond spotlights so we can get the full picture, dream bigger, and achieve more together. I'm your host for this episode. My name is Nick Chan, lawyer and lawmaker. And Friday Beyond Spotlights is honored and pleased to present to you our guest today, non-official convener of the Executive Council, Mr. Bernard Chan, GBM, GBS, JP. Bernie, welcome onto the show.
Hi, Nick. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Bernie. Bernie, you're coming onto our show to talk about whether, and if so, to what extent, Hong Kong still remain competitive and still relevant in this COVID-19 world. You were the elected Legislative Council member where you helped keep the government in check and you helped pass laws and set policies at the Hong Kong level. You're also currently the serving member of the National People's Congress at the national level.
I've been very fortunate in the local level, the legislature, and I served for 10 years. And then now in my 15 years in the National People's Congress.
Bernie, with the raging coronavirus affecting all mankind, you have problems with places where culturally people just feel the need to express their individualism, so they don't wear masks. And then there are countries with vaccines, but they are not using it, and others who can't get hold of it. So what advice would you give when you sit on the national level, but also see at the local city level how things are done?
Well, this is definitely a very challenging time for politicians everywhere. Every country's have to deal with this once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. Their approaches are very different. We're able to contain and basically free millions of people from dying. So I think that we've done very well. What do we do next? Public health is still the primary objective for China. We trace every person with COVID. Now, I believe most countries just gave up on that. No other country is tracing anybody because the scale is so big, it's so out of control. So we take every case so seriously, so we trace them. We're able to deploy software and so on to help to trace, to contain, and stop any further spread of the virus.
Are the people supportive of using technology and an app? So
what we're doing now is still able to uphold privacy, but yet able to address some of this pinpoint that we were not able to do so before.
Over 90% of people downloaded the Leave Home Safe app.
Yeah, it took too long, but then I think at least now people realize that this is the only solution to help us to trace down to the source of the virus.
Hey Neri, have you downloaded the Leave Home Safe app? It's very easy to use and there's been over 7.5 million downloads already.
Of course, I never leave home without it, and I've taken my vaccinations and I'm doing my part to stop the spread of the virus. Would you like some?
Because this COVID-19 have dragged on for a few years now. So elections are held locally and nationally in different places around the world. COVID-19 or quarantine measures, restrictions, that have become an election agenda. What do you think of that?
In some countries, that is a very hot front and center debate right now in election. You're absolutely right. I don't see that as the case for Hong Kong. I think Hong Kong people, generally speaking, are happy to wear a mask because it protects them. So I think that's not the issue. Our front and center problem for right now is because we always have been a very international city. And one of the advantages of having an office in Hong Kong is because of the ease of traveling. Hong Kong is probably by far the most ideal place to do business because the legal protection, the ease of in and out of Hong Kong, and so on, right? But currently, because of the pandemic, because of the methodology that we use to contain the virus, people don't want to get quarantined for too long a time, whether it's 14 days, 21 days, and so on. So I think what is splitting, the politics in Hong Kong is about between those who need to travel and those who don't need to travel. For the great majority of Hong Kong people, they don't need to travel overseas. They need to travel to the mainland, but they don't need to travel overseas. The only need for them is for leisure. But then there's also another pocket of Hong Kong, which is the very international side of Hong Kong, that needs to travel for business, even for family reunions, or they have, actually children, or local people have children study overseas. For that part of Hong Kong, they can't deal with, the quarantine that we require. So I think we are divided on that matter. And I completely understand the frustration for those who require traveling as part of, their daily lives. And especially when other countries already start to relax these restrictions. If we really want to open up back to the world, we must make sure that the people of Hong Kong is fully protected before we open up, because the last things we want to see is our ICU being packed with cases.
How do politicians around the world move from, life above all else, health first, then to, just let it run, live with virus? What is the real driver for that?
They have to open up to allow the economy to come in. Otherwise, they will have a huge systemic problem. But so far, Hong Kong, touch on wood, and together with the support from the mainland China, we managed to maintain the economy going forward.
Because of COVID quarantine restrictions, people find less incentivized to come to Hong Kong to do deal. And there are probably less international conferences held in Hong Kong. Has Hong Kong therefore lost its relevance?
Perhaps short term, it has some effect on Hong Kong, obviously. I mean, yes, you can do over Zoom, you can do over, virtually and so on, but you cannot forever stay virtual, because when it comes to business, it still needs the face-to-face, people-to-people contact. I mean, the fact that Hong Kong, and with the big market behind us, China, is still very attractive. And Hong Kong has been through some ups and downs in the past. But at the end of the day, it's all about the offerings from Hong Kong. Are we remain attractive? What else are we offering Hong Kong that will keep them in Hong Kong? Used to be, it's all about work. One additional advantage of Hong Kong, which is something that we don't have before, now is the arts and culture. Now, arts and culture is going to be also a huge advantage of Hong Kong, with the West Kowloon Culture District.
Where we are today.
The M+ Museum, which is a contemporary art museum, is probably the best in the region. We have the Palace Museum to be open in the middle of this year, with the Lyric Theatre, probably at the end of next year, and so on. So we have a lot of exciting offerings.
Now, you are a successful businessman. You run a financial company, insurance company, you invest in hospitals, in education, and so on. Have your group ever thought about moving to another country or location? Are you putting your money where your mouth is?
We don't see any reason why we want to leave or retrieve or to slow down. There's so many opportunities now available in China. So how should we use Hong Kong to enter the GPA markets? Hong Kong, in the history of Hong Kong, has always added value to China at a different time. Right? Now, of course, China have morphed itself, right, from, I would say, very poor country to now the second largest economy in the world. Now, their needs are different. So how can Hong Kong play that role to serve China? It's going to be different from what we used to serve. But in order to keep Hong Kong relevant, we need to always stay ahead and make sure that value is added to China and to the investor as well. We have 300-400 million the rising middle class. That middle class, that's bigger even than the country of the United States. So you can imagine the needs are very diverse.
Yvette, did you know that China's middle class is among the fastest growing in the world? It now surpasses 700 million people.
That's over half the population.
Yes, and this chart shows that the annual income for mainland China's middle class is in the range of $11,500 to $43,000 and rising.
That's beyond amazing. The increasing purchasing power of the Chinese consumers will create many opportunities for businesses in Hong Kong and around the world.
Bernie, as we reflect on the past, introspectively look at the present, and gaze into the future, what does the future hold for the people who call Hong Kong home towards 2047 and beyond?
It's very clear that now with the reform in the electoral system, with the national security law in place, and the message is very clear that this can go on for a long time. So for people should not even associate 2047 of anything anymore. Mm-hmm. The question, more important, is how can Hong Kong take advantage of this two system to add value for not just Hong Kong, but the whole of China. I think that is the key role for Hong Kong going forward.
Thank you, Bernie. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Friday Beyond Spotlights. Our guest today is Bernard Chan. Who's Bernard Chan behind and beyond Spotlights? Today, we've invited Bernard to bring with him an item that reminds him of a special moment or time or principle or his hidden talents. Bernie, what have you brought us today?
Well, I brought this painting of mine. I'm a painter. Well, I wasn't born with that talent, but in college,
look at this.
Yeah, well, I'll explain exactly how I did it.
You just stole it from the museum?
Yeah, I'm not qualified to be in this museum.
No.
I know what happened was during college, I was very sick. So I spent pretty much every other semester in the hospital, for all sorts of operations. I have 3 bypass operations and a number of other procedures. Anyway, so while doing my absence from school, I thought I can still manage to catch up with some credit and maybe graduate on time. So I was looking through the syllabus and trying to find something that I can study while recuperating offshore, away from school. I was in college in the U.S. And came art. So I thought, oh, I can do that too. So, but no, I never thought that I would actually end up changing my major from economics to studio art. But because of these repeated surgeries I had, I ended up taking, 1 and 2 and 3 and more art classes to a point that I decided, actually, I kind of like this. So I graduated in 5 years. I took an extra year because of the time spent in hospital. And I changed my major to studio art. And of course, I had to find a specialty for myself. And I discovered, and try and error, I discovered this style of my own. Now, many of you may not know what it is, how I did it, but the white part that you see is actually, the whiteout. Because what happened was I started with just doing dots, right? A very colorful dot, but I thought, that's not something very different and unique. So I thought, well, why don't I use a black background and I do white color? But there are not too many medium as opaque enough. The white part is the correctional fluid. The others are magic markers, especially these metallic magic markers, because they actually reflect well from with the black background. So it really is very unique. I don't think anyone else have done anything like that before. So I thought that was sort of my style.
Correction fluid for painting? That's very unique.
I know. I wonder what he uses when he makes a mistake.
Well, with the studio art degree and a student from Hong Kong, I never thought I was ever going to use this at all. I mean, what use is this? I mean, Hong Kong is very business world, and what to do with this? Well, that's what I thought. 20 years on, today I'm the chairman for the Palace Museum. I'm on the board of West Kowloon Cultural District Board, and I do with a lot in arts and culture.
And you designed the logo of the Legislative Council of Hong Kong.
Well, I didn't actually design, but I chose the design.
I see.
I hired a designer, and I gave them, my brief, and I chose the one that now has been adopted by the legislature. So yeah, I never thought that arts and culture comes into any use, but turns out that makes me different from everyone else, because most of my peers at the time are either in business, in engineering, in medicine, and there you go, a guy like me study studio art. But that's exactly why Hong Kong is so exciting. We have moved, in addition to economics, finance, science, medicine, to arts and culture. Arts and culture is going to be a very important part of Hong Kong as well.
No longer a cultural desert, as they used to say.
Absolutely correct.
You mentioned about a health problem when you were young, but now seeing you sometimes on a volleyball court, showing off your, six-pack. Yeah. Do you still have health issues?
I'm fine, and I think it's more important. I think is how do you face it? I'm sure if I didn't tell you that I'm a sick person,
Can't tell.
You can't tell. So it's really about your attitude. I always try to see things from a very positive way. Just like how, today in Hong Kong, we are faced with a lot of challenges. So, of course, we can look at it from the very negative way, but we can also look at the positive way. What are the opportunities ahead of us?
You are a family man. Sometimes we invite you for functions on weekends. You would say no, because you treasure your family time, which is great.
Well,
you mop the floor, you wash the dishes. I know you don't have a domestic helper at home.
Well, it's my commitment to the family as well. My wife's. I shouldn't blame my wife for everything, but yes, I think
you thank your wife for everything.
Yes. So it's important that we also put the family first.
Back to this beautiful artwork. I think both of us like spicy food, and would like to eat it. It was real.
Yes. Well, that's part of my so-called Thai heritage. Actually, I'm not Thai at all. I mean, I grew up, born and raised in Hong Kong. But of course, with my extended family in Thailand and also my love of Thai foods, that's the part that made me very Thai, because I cannot eat anything without chili. Maybe not dessert.
I was going to say watermelon with chili.
Everything else, I put my chilies in. So that's... And also part of the reason was because my health issues. So very early on, at the age of 18, I lost 50% of both of my kidney functions. So from the age of 18, 19, I'm already on on low sodium diet.
No soy sauce for you.
Very little, right? or none. So very early on, food is very bland. So I need to find a substitute. And chili comes in. Not chili sauce. Chili sauce have a lot of sodium.
Oh,
It's
I didn't know that.
fresh chili. That's what it is. Fresh chili. So either chili flakes or fresh chili, not chili sauce. Chili sauce actually is not healthy if you eat too much. So, but this is fresh, so it's okay. So I use chili as a substitute.
Bernie, thank you for sharing your personal story with us. Now I'm going to get more personal and ask you some rapid-fire questions.
Okay.
Short answers.
All right.
What is your favorite color?
Blue.
Your favorite ice cream?
Coconut.
Favorite drink?
Ooh, tea.
Favorite sports?
Oh, many, but I would say volleyball.
Your favorite type of music?
Jazz and sentimental.
And your favorite song?
Ooh, so many. You might not know the song. It's a jazz name. Yeah. Actually, I don't remember the name myself.
Okay, next one. Favorite place you would bring friends visiting from overseas?
Well, now, definitely West Kowloon Cultural District.
We know one of your hidden talents. Do you have other hidden talents?
I would say engaging people.
What is the biggest misconception about you?
I think a lot of people thought that I wants to be a hardcore politician, want to rise up in the political field. That's not true.
The nicest thing someone have said to you?
That I am serving Hong Kong's with a true heart.
Your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is that I have not done enough to make things better. That's my biggest fear, that I have not done enough. I could have, but I didn't. That would be my biggest fear.
Qualities you admire about your parents?
My mother is a very strict person. At the time I may not be very happy, but I think she taught me how to be very disciplined about everything I do.
What is your dream job?
I thought my dream job was being a banker, and but I never make it there. But I'm happy with what I'm doing today.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
First, definitely never give up. I did, so never give up, and always, think positive, and and I'm sure things will work out.
Bernie, can I invite you to share some tips to help young people prepare for the future?
I think for our young generation, the most important thing is about getting themselves exposed. Exposure is important. I think this side of the world is exciting. With 300-400 million rising middle class in China, their needs are amazing. And so for the young people, whether they're local or they are from outside of Hong Kong, they should try to understand, what this excitement is all about. And once they're exposed, once they understand, they are better prepared for themselves to take advantage of this opportunity.
Bernie, can you share with us your well wishes for Hong Kong?
Well, I hope 2022 will be a new year for Hong Kong, that we can all recover from this COVID pandemic. So I wish everyone good health.
Bernie, thank you for coming on to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on Friday Beyond Spotlights. Be well.
Bernard Chan is such a creative and smart, and he's a genuinely nice guy. We're lucky to have gotten to know him.
He's a man of art, culture, politics, and business. A truly modern Renaissance man.
Thank you for watching Friday Beyond Spotlights. Till next time, goodbye.